Hey, fellow marketers, this is Mark Petrie with Lasso Moon. You ever get into Google Analytics and you find that it's almost overwhelming? I hear that a lot from clients and even myself to some extent. I am not an analytics data miner by trade. So as I get into it, like many marketers out there, we look at this and say, my gosh, there's a lot of information and drill downs and drill into this and drill into that. I kind of look at things about a few different what I would call key performance indexes, KPIs, and then I try to extrapolate those and make some judgment calls from it. But I can get lost inside of Google Analytics and then going into social media analytics as well from Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that. So I end up spending an inordinate amount of time working within different analytics packages. Well, last month we found a new company called Talu, and they claim to humanize your data into stories, and that is really interesting. So I created an account, I've been using it for the last month, and now I have some feedback for you. So here's my account, and we set up many different what they call stories. Those are reports that they deliver each week from various social media properties. Currently, they only have Google Analytics interpretation, they have Facebook, and they have Twitter. So when I want to look at one of my stories or one of my reports, I simply click on View the Story, and it gives me the most recent story. I also have a threaded history down here that I can look at my past performance, and they break it down into 5 or 6 what I would call KPIs, key performance indexes, that I would want to consider that they extract, in this case, from my Google Analytics. So here I am, and I scroll down initial activities. What was the initial activities? We had 88 people this week come in, and 75 of those were new and 13 returned. And 5 of our pages was 69% of our traffic. Now that's pretty quick information I get out of here. It's beautifully laid out. It's graphical interface, but I love that it puts it in the form of stories. We are big on storytelling. I think that's the most important thing that you can do, and this is typically what I would do if I wanted to deliver this message to my partner or my staff or vendors or anybody else. I think that these things are fantastic. So just jumping right through these things. Initial activity, sort of like what they do, traffic sources, where they come from. I found an interesting one. Quality Marketer Zone delivered 21 visits, or my highest link to my website. Never heard of them. Well, now we know we have an action we can take from that, because we need to figure out who they are and why they're sending us all these visits. And does it even mean anything? But there's an actionable insight that I probably would not have extracted from Google Analytics very easily, and it's right in front of me, and it says, hey, do something. So it's delivering really high-level information that gives me some insight and then some very specific information. And then you have things like entrance paths and things like that. Where are they coming into your homepage? Are they going into a specific page of your website? That type of thing. The technologies that they're using. Another insight that we got from this, just using this, was the continual understanding that even though we at Lasso Moon have a very mobile-first view on how to develop websites and design them, we're really taking almost all desktop users. 81% of visitors are on cutting-edge desktop browsers, but more like about 94% are on desktop. It's just really, really interesting. That's such a high percentage. And then it breaks it down from there into the types of browsers, and then you get into the mobile operating systems. So those are the kinds of things I do want to know, and I love that it's at a glance. And then finally, where are they coming from? Well, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it would seem pretty accurate that we're getting most of our traffic from there. But then look at this, Amsterdam and Zuidoost, I don't even know if that's pronounced correctly, but 13% of visitors in the last week. What do those guys want? I don't know. Maybe we need to take an action against it and find out why this traffic is coming from there. And you know what? I can bounce back into Google Analytics and look at it. So, wow, fantastic information. I have all my history I can bounce back and forth to and look at the week before, and is it the same, and that kind of thing. So it's fantastic for that. The social media stories talk more about engagement than they do about engagement activity. So it's like, what'd you do? How much did you do? When did you do it? So we'll take a quick look at the Facebook example here. Did you post? Did you do this? what was your activity like? So it's reach, weird things that happen, anomalies, our effort, the influence we feel we have, any insights that we gain from that, when to post and different things like that. This is really great at-a-glance information. So I think that the graphical nature, the high-level reporting, all of that is just fantastic for really getting to quickly analyze some information that's important. Now, I've set them up for my customers, and right now, as of September 11th, we only are able to report on Twitter, Facebook, and then an interpretation of your Google Analytics. That's all they have. I reached out to Talu, and they told me that they are working on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and different things like that so you can have more stories. This is a great tool for me. So let's talk about pricing and overall my final impressions on this. First of all, pricing. It's got a 30-day free trial. Your first story, so if I just wanted that Google Analytics story, is $39 a month. So it includes one story. Want to add more stories? $10 each. That's pretty simple pricing. So if you add up what I'm doing for just the Lasso Moon agency, I do Lasso Moon, and that would be $39. Then the social media property for Facebook, $49, and the social media property for Twitter would be $59. Really easy to understand. Is that worth it to you to pay $59 a month? For me, it is, because I can find myself spending a lot of time trying to extrapolate information and do things like that, and the cost of my time is well worth the $60 price tag that this costs per month. So I think pricing-wise, these guys are spot on. The couple things that I really hope they get to, that I'm sure they will, first of all, add more social media properties. Certainly, I'd love to see our LinkedIn data and Pinterest and Instagram and different things like that to be able to create more stories. The second thing I'd really like to do is, as I mentioned, when you go in, it shows you your week-by-week analysis, but that's the only way you can do it. There is no comparative analysis, and there is no way to set my date range. So to set my date range, I want to look at a whole month. I could look at a whole month, or a comparative analysis would be this time period versus this time period. I really hope that they address those two things. Either way, $60 a month, all that great information at my fingertips, really well laid out in the form of a story with actionable insight. Totally worth it in my book. I give these guys a lot of props. I'm going to be a very big fan for the time being. Hope that they continue to evolve the product. If you ever have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to us directly at lassomoon.com, or of course you can hashtag AskLassoMoon in your social media outlets, and we'll try to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks, everybody.